everyone. Thanks for joining us this week on the Niners News Update. This week we are recapping our 31-13 victory over the Atlanta Falcons, which was a big win, as we talked about on last week's show. A little bit paranoid about the Falcons after the 2019 season when we were clearly the superior team, and they still came in and beat us by a touchdown there at the end of the game. So that was a little frustrating, but it was good to go into that game and really kind of beat them up a little bit. The game started out
beating them by over twice their score. Definitely good.
Yeah, definitely. That was a game that
You always like to see your team beat a team by a large margin. It's always nice. Like with Washington, the wins are always pretty close. So it's nice to watch a game and it end like that.
Yeah, I think you guys will build off that too, and we'll talk more about that in the Washington segment and what the future looks like there. But yeah, as far as this game goes, whenever you're the favored team, you always want to go out and show out and definitely make the underdog look like the underdog in that situation, and that's what we did with the Falcons. Now it didn't get off to the best start because on the opening kickoff, JaMycal Hasty actually fumbled the ball back to Atlanta, and they would actually take over at the 12, and it.
Yeah, that was. I could not believe that. I remember I messaged you right after that. I was like, "Dude, did you?"
He got his helmet right on the ball. It was a perfect play.
Oh my god!
Yeah. But he just popped it right out in the air, and then the dude just his teammate just caught it right in his yeah. Now, as our defense has many times before this year, we did end up holding strong. It did look like at one point Cordero Patterson would score on a touchdown, but after the review, ended up determining that his knee was down, and it ended up going to a 4th and goal. And while targeting, rookie sensation tight end, who I'm a big fan of, Kyle Pitts, Jaquiski would actually, Jaquiski broke up the pass, and we would actually take over inside our own 5.
That was a really, really good defensive stand. I thought for sure. I was like, man, it's about to be 7-0. They're at the 12.
Or at least 3-0. Yeah, absolutely. I thought we were giving up something there for sure. But yeah, we take over inside the 5, but we would go 3 and out. The Niners couldn't get much going inside their own 5-yard line, so we ended up punting the ball back. Atlanta gets the ball, I think, at their own or at our 45. So their first 2 drives start in Niner territory. Now this time they managed to pick up a couple first downs, but they ultimately would end up settling for a Young Waku field goal, 48-yard field goal to put Atlanta up 3-0. It's funny because for the longest time I thought his name was Young Hoku, but it's Young Waku. But it's it looks like Young Hoku. So I was like, all right, well, whatever.
Okay, see, I was gonna say because I thought it was the other way. But
it's okay. Young Way. Yeah. Got the verification on that.
Weird.
So the Korean-born kicker and former. This guy actually got himself signed off of YouTube from so if you're like, oh, there's no way you can ever get signed by just doing kicking videos on YouTube. Not true, because Young Waku did it. So NFL scouting departments are watching people kick field goals on YouTube. So that's why I need to get back in shape. Especially with the vid restrictions. Because they've played more kickers this year than any other year in league history because of the COVID regulations. Brian Johnson would have never regularly gotten a shot in an NFL season.
Yeah, but, absolutely. Or Chris Blewett. Jesus.
Yeah. Well, Brian Johnson proved a lot better than Chris Blewett.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So on our second possession, we ended up getting backed up as well because Hasty again misplayed the ball. This time it went out of bounds, so we didn't lose possession. But he didn't
have a good start.
Yeah, he's proven to struggle. Trenton Cannon is usually our kick return guy, but ever since he took that hit in the Seattle game and had to be taken off the field in the ambulance, it's been rough going for the Niners kick return unit because Cannon was really good for us, but hopefully he can get back at some point. I know he was on injured reserve, so I don't know if he's got a chance to make it back for maybe the last game or even the playoffs. So we'll have to see. But yeah, the Niners would start the ball. The Niners would start off this drive actually with a really nice play on a catch and run, 25-yard catch and run by George Kittle. Kittle doing what Kittle does.
Yeah.
Making people miss and getting that yak. Now the drive would eventually stall out, but we would manage to go 11 plays and 79 yards and get a 30-yard Robbie Gould field goal to at least tie the game up 3-3. So at that point, the offense was a little bit A little bit slow to start between the two drives. We couldn't get it in the end zone, but we'll give you Jimmy's starting numbers on those first two drives. He started 5 out of 7 for 68 yards on his first two drives, and then
pretty good start despite the way the offense, the scores looked. That's solid numbers.
Yeah, and a few of those throws were actually a little bit moderate or deeper throws down the field, so they weren't all just simple checkdowns. And then on the ensuing drive, Arden Key would pick up a huge third down sack on Matt Ryan on a 3rd and 5. On the third down, it would be his 5th sack of the season. So Arden Key, I know we've talked about him a lot because he's probably my favorite backup defensive lineman we have. And I mean, he's got 5 sacks, which actually puts him second on the team to Bosa's 15. So I mean, that's kind of a big gap between
it's a huge gap,
but I mean that's just what Bosa.
Yeah, it's because it's Nick Bosa.
Yeah, Nick Bosa's a fucking freak, but I love it. I mean that in obviously the most positive way possible because let's see here. So Atlanta punts again, and then our next drive starts out with Aiyuk getting called for a false start, but this is kind of a funny story. On the very next play, they hit Aiyuk on a slant, and he takes it, up the field on a nice 35-yard catch and run, so another, big yak play. And funny story about that was they were interviewing Juice after the game, Juszczyk, and I guess he said, like, Alex Mack, after Aiyuk made that play because he had false started the play before. He totally, like, hit him with the Dumb and Dumber line and totally redeems himself. So I thought that was pretty funny. So it's like, yeah, it's kind of bailed him. He cost him 5, but he got him 35. So it's like, I'd say that's worth it.
Yeah, he's like, oh, no need to worry about that anymore.
I got you guys. Put you on my back and carry you down the field. And then on the very next play, Jeff Wilson Jr. would break a 17-yard run, pick up another first down. And then, we started to kind of show, that Niner football offense that we're used to where we're running the ball and, throwing the ball off that play action and also, short checkdowns off of that. Then we threw Debo. We did something a little different with him. We threw him a backwards pass and attempted to get him a pass attempt into the end zone. And he uncorked it and he let it go to Aiyuk, but unfortunately it hit the Falcons defender in the back, so the ball would fall.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. Yeah. Like he didn't even look. You just see it coming.
Yeah, right I mean, like when Debo got that ball, like it was his first pass attempt of the season. Like he was throwing it. Like you could tell he was like throwing it regardless of whether Aiyuk was open or not. That's how a lot of those option plays are. It's like you get the one opportunity to probably throw in an NFL game that you might ever get. And it's like you're gonna.
Yeah, he's like, I'm taking it.
You're gonna take it. Yeah. Yeah. So now the Niners would end up capitalizing because they would end up scoring on a 6-yard touchdown run by Kyle Juszczyk, as we had just mentioned. It was his first rushing touchdown of the season, so always good to get our all-star fullback in the mix there. Now the Falcons would end up responding with their best drive of the game. We had them stopped on a 3rd down again, and Arden Key would pick up another sack. But this time he got flagged for roughing because they said he kind of like went down on Matt Ryan and like for a body weight sack.
Because they flag him for anything nowadays.
Yeah, which I thought was a pretty questionable call. I mean, I didn't like that call. It didn't seem like he was trying to be overly malicious with Matt Ryan or anything. But yeah, on the very next play, Matt Ryan takes a shot for the end zone and finds their best receiver that they have right now, Russell Gage, for a 20-yard touchdown. Now, Russell Gage was matched up in a one-on-one matchup with our rookie, who seems like we're talking about Ambry Thomas every week, for some good, some bad. But he's learning. It's a process in the league. And D'Amico Ryans actually said something that he thinks Ambry Thomas could be a good starting corner in the NFL for the next 10 years. So that's good praise. And obviously everybody's going to get beat, and he makes some plays, but he definitely got beat there. And he's still working on it, and he got penalized a couple times last week as well. So yeah, we'll have to follow that and see how that goes. But that would tie the game up at 10-all, and then we get the ball back with about 4 minutes left in the half, and Jimmy finds Debo for a gain of 32 yards. Then a couple plays later, Jimmy avoids narrowly avoids a sack, finds Juwan Jennings for 15 yards and a first down to get us down to the 10. And then on the following play, we line Debo up in the backfield, pitch it to him, and then Debo would go on to score his 7th rushing touchdown of the season, which is just increasing his record, which is his own. He's just breaking his own record at this point for most rushing touchdowns.
That's going to be a hard one to beat for any other receiver.
Yeah, ever. Yeah. So the Niners are
most teams just don't do that much.
Yeah. Or you might see like the Skins might do it like 3 or 4 times a year with like Curtis Samuel or something. Like, I mean, he hasn't been out there a lot to do it with.
Actually, if he was out there regularly, we might do that with him.
You guys might do it more. Hopefully you guys will do that.
He's made of glass apparently, so another bad signing. But from how it's been, at least him and Ryan Fitzpatrick was just like, here, let's just throw some money away.
Hey man, it feels that way sometimes. I mean, we've had a few of those, unfortunately, as you remember. Jalen Hurd was taking money from us for about 3 years, and he never even got in a game. So, and then we'll have to discuss the AGG situation at some point too. But yeah, so anyway, Niners would take over with Falcons take over with 33 seconds left in the half, with the Niners up 17-10. And Atlanta takes a deep shot for Pitts, which actually looked like it was picked off by Ambry Thomas. I don't know if you remember seeing this play, but Ambry Thomas jumped, made the pick, and Pitts like takes the ball out of his hands. Now, fortunately, Pitts did not come down inbounds, or that would have been a completion for about 35, 40 yards.
That was a close one, right? Like he was really close to being in bounds. Yeah, because it looked like it at first, and then his knee was clearly out though when they looked at it, right?
Exactly.
Was that play?
Yep. Exactly. And then at halftime, Jimmy's numbers, just to give you an update, he was 11 of 13 for 170 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. So very solid first half. So then Atlanta starts with the ball in the second half, and on the first play, Matt Ryan would be sacked for the second time. This time by Samson Ebukam, who was our big free agent pickup from the Rams. So he's definitely been coming on in recent weeks for us. So that's always.
And that'd be the third time he actually did get sacked. The one time there was a flag.
One time it was exactly.
So he's taken a lot of hits in one half.
And then here's going to be another one. 2 plays after that on a 3rd and 8, another big third down sack. Nick Bosa coming for his 15th of the season. We're always updating you with a Nick Bosa sack tracker. He's at 15 right now with 2 games to go. So we'll have to follow that. We were talking all season if he would get 15. He got the 15 now.
Yep.
Let's see where you can take it from here, Bosa. And so that would force a fumble, actually. The ball got knocked out of his hands. And actually it was funny because nobody went after the ball except Fred Warner picked it up. Fred Warner made a heads-up play, picked up the ball. They said he couldn't advance it or it would have been a touchdown. But we end up starting at our own 38-yard line. And weirdly enough, then we proceed to fumble our first play because Jimmy and Alex Mack couldn't get the exchange right. And the ball ends up getting kicked. It got kicked basically all the way down the line of scrimmage from the center all the way to like the tackle. It was really weird. And then Jeff Wilson ends up picking it up. So thank God.
Yeah,
Jeff
thank
Wilson,
God.
Johnny on the spot. Yeah. So he recovers it. On the following play, Jimmy hits Kittle for 13 yards and a first down. And then next play, Jimmy finds Debo for a gain of 20, gets us down to the 6. And then Jeff Wilson would score the Niners' 3rd rushing touchdown of the day to take a 24-10 lead. And at that point, in the 3rd quarter, we're looking pretty good. Atlanta, this is as close as they would make it. They'd end up on their next drive getting a 22-yard Young Wei Koo field goal to cut the lead to 11 at 24-13. But after that, so...
Yeah, that was it for them.
Pretty much, yeah. So, I mean, Kittle would end up having a 13-yard catch on the next drive, and then we would end up hitting them with a solid dose of Jeff Wilson. Now, this was like Kittle's 3rd straight game because he'd been coming off that Seattle game and what was the other game? Seattle and Cincinnati game where he went completely off. So in this game he had 6 catches for 93 yards. So another great day by Kittle.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then Hasty had a nice 13-yard run to get us inside the Falcons' 10. So good to see JaMycal Hasty getting mixed in there a little bit. Obviously, Jeff Wilson's been getting the starts with Elijah Mitchell missing his 3rd straight game. We might be able to get him back pretty soon. So
we'll Good thing Hasty doesn't play Urban Meyer because, after those 2 muffed punts, he would have been benched immediately.
Yeah, so he and that was weird because Kyle is somebody that does sometimes bench a little bit. He won't do it for like a full game, but he'll definitely take you out for a while. But Hasty did stay in and return the rest of the kicks, although he after that second one that he misplayed, he didn't take any more out of the end zone.
Yeah,
So
he's probably like, yeah, I'll just
yeah,
go
yeah.
back.
So on that drive, we end up on a third and goal. Jimmy connects with Juwan Jennings on a 4-yard catch, which was believe that's Juwan Jennings' third touchdown catch of the season. So as we're always talking about as well, seems like we're talking about the same guys weekly that step up. It's like it's a lot of Juwan Jennings, a lot of Nick Bosa, a lot of Arden Key, a lot of these guys that are making plays week after week. So good to see. These are good depth signings. I mean, obviously Nick Bosa is not a good depth signing, but Arden Key,
Right.
those guys. Juwan Jennings is I could see him being our third receiver next year because I don't think we'll
Yeah.
probably keep Mohamed Sanu because he's aging. But yeah, so that connection to Juwan Jennings would be Jimmy's first touchdown pass of the day because our previous 3 touchdowns were rushing, and that would put us up 31-13 at the end of the third quarter. Falcons looked like they might close the gap a little bit when Matt Ryan connected with Kyle Pitts on a gain of 49. And on that play, Jaquiski Tartt actually got tangled up with Pitts and looked like he hurt his knee. However, luckily he was able to come back in 2 plays later. He was replaced by Wilson, our backup safety, but he ended up coming back in, 2 or 3 plays later. So that's good because Jaquiski has a history of injuries. So good to see him.
Yeah.
I think he's
That's
played in
good that
12
he's
games
all
this
right.
season. So that's the most games he's played in a long time. So knock on wood that continues.
Yeah.
Now the Falcons' drive wouldn't result in any points because on a 4th and 1, they tried to run with Patterson, and they just weren't able to get much penetration on the ground all day. The yards they did get, they had to get through the air with Matt Ryan because Atlanta's running game really didn't get much going. Niners take over. We would go 3-and-out on our next drive, and one of the few times in that game that we would actually have to punt. I mean, I think on the day. Um, just because we really didn't punt much at all. Barely used Wisnowski. Anyway,
In the first one, I'm not sure, but
yeah.
maybe second.
No, I think let's see. Here it is. No, they punted 4 times, but I guess
4
I didn't.
times. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was more than I thought. But either way, we still got the win. So Atlanta moves 45 yards all the way down to the Niners' 2-yard line on the next drive. But for the second time in the game, the Niners would come up with a huge goal line stand on 4th and goal, and Matt Ryan would overthrow backup receiver Christian Blake in the back of the end zone. So we take over with 5:08 to play and backed up at their 2-yard line. Jeff Wilson breaks a 16-yard run on the game's opening play, so that kind of got us some breathing room to operate. Niners would run the clock down to 29 seconds before we had to punt it back. Okay, so there's a second punt right there that we've mentioned. I guess there were 2 more mixed in there somewhere. Atlanta would replace Matt Ryan on the final play with Felipe Franks, who just basically that's their backup, and he goes in and runs a little bit of the wildcat or read option.
I've never actually heard his name before.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah, so he goes in there for the last play, just hands it off, and that's ball game basically. Niners improved to 8-6 after that with the 31-13 win. Next week we have, or actually on a short week now, we have the Tennessee Titans coming up, which are going to be a tough matchup. They have the number 10 ranked defense in the NFL, so not looking forward to that. Definitely look for them to send a lot of pressure at us, and we'll have to see how that goes. Every game at this point is, has that great sense of urgency since we're running out of games. So we gotta,
absolutely.
Yeah, but hopefully we can get a win on Thursday night. Like I said, we're only going to have 2 practices between the Sunday game and the Thursday game. That's always the rough part about having the short week. So we'll have to see how the team responds, and then after that, just 2 more games remaining against the Houston Texans and then the Rams. So we're getting closer to playoff football here. So join us next week, and we'll recap that Thursday night game and let you know what happened. Go Niners.